Well done, Jeff. Jeff has a special gift of being able to pack a 30-second introduction into 3/4 of an hour. Actually, I must say how honoured, delighted, thrilled, excited I am to be here this afternoon and to find this such a friendly and happy gathering. I'm relieved, actually, to find it such a friendly and happy gathering because, as Jeff made clear to you, I used to be a Member of Parliament and now I work for the BBC, so that most of my friends have been arrested. I remember in 2008, do you remember the banking crisis? I know you had yours a few years earlier, 2001, 2002. You coped, you went through all the traumas then, so you were ready for the banking crisis. But the rest of the world wasn't. And in 2008, I went with the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh. I was writing a book about them at the time, and we went to the Bank of England. And the Queen was taken around the Bank of England. She emerged after the worst of the banking crisis. She emerged after this tour of the Bank of England. The Duke of Edinburgh got into the royal limousine and the Queen was saying goodbye to the governor. I was standing at the edge of the crowd and I overheard this, but it was actually broadcast. And the Queen said to the governor, she said goodbye to him, "Goodbye, Mr. Governor, thank you so much, most interesting visit. When we were upstairs, you did tell me how many people work in the building here. And I can't remember what the number was. Can you remind me?" And the governor of the Bank of England looked at the Queen and said, "Oh yes, Your Majesty, I did, I mentioned it. In this actual building, we've got 1,232 people working in this building." And the Queen looked steadily at the governor of the Bank of England and said to him, remember this was 2008, looked steadily at him and said, 1,238 of you, and not one of you saw this coming. At which point she stepped into the royal limousine where, I promise you this is true, the Duke of Edinburgh was sitting going, the politicians know nothing. I know this. I was in the Treasury on the day that we came out of the ERM, talking of anniversaries. I think that was 21 years ago, about this time of the year. I remember going in, I was there as an office junior at the back of the crowd, along with David Cameron, the present Prime Minister. We were both office juniors at the Treasury at the time. And we went in the morning. We didn't know we were going to be forced out of the ERM. The market seemed to be indicating that we might be. There was a computer screen. The permanent secretary said, "Oh, it's very simple. What we have to do," it says in the book now, "is put up the interest rates." So we were then able to put up the interest rates at the Treasury at that time. So the interest rates went up a little bit. You may remember the day. A little bit more, up to 11%. You may recall this, 12%, 13%, 14%. The markets did not seem to be responding quite as they were supposed to do. Up to 15%, we got to 16%, at which point, there is no exaggeration in this story, the permanent secretary was banging the top of the computer, thinking it wasn't responding as it should be. The beginning of the day, we didn't know we were going to be chucked out of the ERM. While we were being chucked out of the ERM, we didn't know quite what to do about it. When it was over, we didn't quite know what had happened, so we sent the Chancellor of the Exchequer home to sing in the bath. At the start of the day, we didn't know what was happening. While it happened, we didn't know what was happening. When it had happened, we didn't know what has hit us. That is what the Treasury is all about. Nobody knows anything. Somebody very sweetly said to me as I was coming in this afternoon, "Where's my woolly jumper?" I used to wear colourful knitwear on television. I don't know if any of you remember the colourful knitwear. Gyles the Jumper, yes. Well, a gentleman down here is recalling Gyles the Jumper. I used to wear colourful knitwear. I hope nobody would remember it when I became a Member of Parliament. But almost the first time I turned up at the House of Commons, who should be seated on the opposition front bench but John Prescott. Some of you remember John Prescott? Still with us. Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. If you don't know what I mean, you may not be familiar with this man, Jeff. No, this is an international gathering, and lovely to have an American at the helm. Well done. But he was our former Deputy Prime Minister. He's an amateur pugilist. Man who uses the English language like a Rubik cube. He's the man who famously said, the green belt, it's a Labour idea and we're determined to build on it. Anyway, I got up to speak, and obviously wearing a nice suit, and Mr. Prescott remembered that I used to wear these jumpers, and under his breath he muttered, "Woolly jumper," contemptuously. And there's a touch of white van man before its time. And I struggled on with my speech, but he went on with his barracking, warming to his theme, going, "Woolly jumper, woolly jumper." On I went with my oration, on he went with his interruptions. "Woolly jumper, woolly jumper, woolly jumper." Well, eventually I had to pause, and point out to Mr. Prescott that the joy of a woolly jumper is that you can take it off at will, whereas the blight of a woolly mind is that you're lumbered with it for life.